Clickety click. Day 66 of This Much Is True. I'm mellow tonight. Why is that, says you? Well, need I say no more? Or any more? Maybe, actually I'm quite okay. This is a Vieux Pourret, I'm told, from 2019. And I didn't have the bottle. I'm a bit mellow on it. In fact, I wasn't going to show up tonight because between TV detectives last night and poetry, I thought you'd had enough of me. But my wife likes to watch a romantic thing on television, Jack and something. And you know that feeling when you're not wanted. Plus, I wouldn't want to be there looking at that slush, lilac-covered slush. So I let her be. She likes Brendan Gleeson's son. I can't remember what his name is. Anyway, she's welcome to him. So, to be fair to my beloved, she runs the admin for my voiceover work. And, God, she came in tonight. She was already, overworked from her own job. And she sorted out something for me. Basically, a very blue chip client wanted to... This is going to sound really boring. But they want to set up a supplier relationship with us, and they weren't making it easy with all the forms and what have you. I mean, I think this is our second or third submission. The only light on the horizon is they keep ringing me, being so enthusiastic as to what to do next to set it all up, and they basically want to pay us next week. So I let her be, as the Beatles would say. And during the course of it, I had one of these. She also asked for an Easter egg ahead of schedule, let's call the whole thing off. And I obliged, but what I didn't mention to her was I stole one for myself. And I wouldn't mind it. I'd been so good in the last 48 hours on my eating. It was a shame, really, because sugar is not good for anyone, but for someone in my condition, it's not good. But anyway, I had one. I had the bloody thing. I eat the bastard, I did. And I had a chocolate bar with it as well. It was one of those... what one was it? Not the crunchy one. It wasn't crunchy. It was a Kit Kat. But I like to think, my friends, that you forgive me for showing up unprepared, because the 5 or 6 people that are regulars here, they kind of get me, I would hope. And I get you as well. So it's like a little fireside chat we have here, even though it's an artificial fire. And I'm stuck in my lumberjack jacket tonight. Yeah, I'm a lumberjack and I don't care. It reminds me of Hutch, actually, the late David Soul, who played Hutch in Starsky and Hutch. He used to have one of these. I was looking at a documentary on him last night when I was here, just by myself. It's on YouTube. It's called He's Hutch, I'm Starsky, or I'm Starsky, He's Hutch, whatever it's called. And it's about his life. And he came from a very kind of organized religion family. His father was I think I mentioned all this to you before, was a pastor or something like that. Solberg was the original family name. Just such a lovely guy, and a shame to see him go at age 80. A good enough innings, but he was a 50 a day man, I think, for years on cigarettes. He even had a lung removed, so don't give up on us, baby, huh? So, yeah, I just thought I'd check in with you. And share a glass or two with you. Oh, look, my flames have gone and the TV's come on instead behind me, look. I don't know what it is. I will just say, if it's of any use to you, I can't name names, but some very high rollers have sold a serious amount of stock in the last few days. You're talking millions and billions worth of stock. And that's usually, when that happens, something is going to give. Something's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong. Totally hope I'm wrong. But it's happened. It'd be interesting to see. And it might be catastrophic to see as well. Who knows? Do you know, I'm going to share something very personal with you today, and I don't want you to get the wrong idea because I ain't going to go there. But having had a wonderful day yesterday where I just was up, I thought to myself today, I'm done. I suppose, I just felt I'm done. I'm finished. Yeah, I mean, if there was some way of switching off without hurting anyone around me, and as I said, I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm just saying, look, it was a moment, it's a moment, and it passed. It's happened sometimes before, but, I just get tired. I get fed up. I just felt like checking out. I did. And as I said, it's no disrespect, or it doesn't mean I don't want to upset anyone or my family or anything like that. And I'm not looking to you for some kind of cheap sympathy. I'm just saying, I suppose we all feel like that sometimes. I just felt, you know what? If it was lights off, I don't think it would bother me, other than the fact that it might affect people close to me. The way the tuning fork used to go, I'm not able really to get in touch with this world for the longest time, really. I enjoyed it at a point. I felt safe in it. I don't feel safe in it anymore. And that said, look, I grew up in the 70s where the shadow of the atom bomb was always, or nuclear bomb was always hanging over us, as it still does. And as I said, I don't want to get all morose, but, the music kept me alive. The youth kept me alive. My job and the way to say the best is yet to come. Sometimes I find it hard to believe. I hit the 60 thing, and I'm not getting hung up on it because I know there are people that are older than it and they thrive. And indeed, I saw a survey a few years back. It was actually done on RTE. It might have been Ryan Tuberty's show, where he was going through every decade and seeing how are people getting on in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And if I remember correctly, the 60s were those who were really happy. And I suppose in terms of, unless, as I said before, the economy goes funny, I am my father finished his working life when he was my age. And yet I feel there's unfinished business. Now, I suppose we just look at what we would love to do, and love to have done. And I am blessed in some ways because this is, for whatever reason, it's a conduit for me to reach out and do something that I enjoyed doing or wanted to really do full time, which was broadcasting. It's all I ever really wanted to do, if I'm honest. That and the army. I did like the army. I must talk about the little bit I did in my territorial days sometime. But I had a great time for my father. I grew up in a military family. Brother, army officer, grandfather, same. I don't think it's the solution to everything. As a matter of fact, as I get older and I look around me, I know it's not the solution, armies and air forces and navies and stuff, but there's something camaraderie-like and purposeful about military life. That's all I'd say. Indeed, in the Second World War, for instance, they looked at suicide figures. Suicide figures went down because people were engaged in a common purpose, on whatever side you were on, and that was to be victorious. And so there was a purpose, and a bonding. And it's easy to fall through the cracks, especially in my game, when you really don't get to see people anymore. Not to the same degree as in my sales career, where I saw people every single day. I'm currently trying to contact a studio, and the fucker, he just doesn't return his calls. He doesn't believe in being professional. And yet I see posts of his up, and where he's got so-and-so in the studio and so-and-so in the studio, and they're just reading audiobooks like I've done. And they're not particularly well-known people, but I just can't click with this guy. I've left, as I said about a couple of days back, I said, nobody wants desperation. And that's not where I'm coming from. I think he's a sound engineer. I know he's a sound engineer. And I also know I can do what he wants. And it'll get me out of the house. But he doesn't believe in returning calls. He's not the only one around that I can chase after. Life's good. I mean, I'm off to Madrid myself in a few weeks' time. Probably will be in New York before the end of the year as well. I get about, but I must talk about a man now who seemed to get more sex than anyone I've ever known. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at his Wikipedia here. He's long dead. Jack Hargreaves was his name. So let me just kind of bring up the mood if I can. Jack Hargreaves, Hargreaves. I first came across him, if you pardon the expression, on a program called How in the 1970s. How. And they used to tell you how things would work and how things would happen. But he did have his own TV series, which I can't remember quite what it was called. I'm trying to look here. But it was country based, and you know, he would travel around the country. He was a countryman at heart. But if you looked at his history, you know, he was a World War II guy who went out in General Montgomery's staff to he was a broadcaster. But I was just looking at, I mean, he had more women than I don't know what. I think he was 4 or 5 times married. As was David Soul, I have to say. But it was just like, you know, it was 1 minute he's married, next minute he's in a relationship with his secretary, then he's in a relationship with somebody he meets when he's overseas. And you're looking at this old guy, and he's got a pipe. You know, he looks very, very rural, and not in the least like mad, gloriously handsome or anything. But sure, it's the quiet ones you have to watch out for. And I tuned in today into YouTube just to see his last show was filmed in 1985. He died at the age of 83, and in 1985 he was around 74. And his last show, what better way to go than it was a pub crawl? You know, it was a pub crawl via a cart and horses. It just looked great. You can't see him, but he's looking at me. He's looking at me now. The other thing that happened to me in the last 24 hours or so is a sister of mine, via friends and relations in Canada, some photos started to turn up. And I was just really busy. I couldn't really respond at the time. But there were old photos, even photo of me, age 1, like in my nunu blanket. And so they were a revelation, really. And, oh yeah, here it is. Look, hold on. Feast your eyes on this beautiful face. Ooh, like that's me in 1964. I'm literally a year old. I've never seen it before. I'm 60 years of age now. And my handsome father, God rest him, there's a photo of him. And he was an officer, as I've mentioned to you before, but he was, at this stage, he's only a cadet. So it's pre him being commissioned. And there he is, like 18 or 20 years of age. And see if I can dig it up for you. And him lolling by a gatepost somewhere in rural Ireland during probably leave from the army. Of course, when you want to see it, when you want to get it, you can't see it. It is here somewhere. Maybe we'll have to leave that one until tomorrow, huh? It's a pity. Fuck it anyway. I would have liked to have shown you that. because my dad was a great guy. I loved him very much. Can I share a story with you about him? So he was an army man, and he was very stoic, and also he was very Christian, and he was a religious man, but he kept his religion to himself, which was all the more influential because he kind of led by example, and he was quite religious, and he'd even say his rosary at night. And I remember coming in once or twice, pissed out of my head. What's changed, says you. And just once or twice coming in late at night, in this old barracks that we used to live in, this old officers' quarters. And he'd be down on his knees, and I'd kind of stagger in, and he wouldn't say anything to me. And I remember getting up the next day, and he'd gone off to bed, and I got up the next day in the kitchen, and in my inebriated state, I had drawn all these wonderful, with the salt, a bottle of salt, I'd drawn all these wonderful jungle animals on the kitchen floor. And again, he never said anything to me about it. He just let me get on with it. I'd like to show you, if I could, this picture I found of him. But the battery's gone on this fucker now. Isn't that typical? Sorry. I do recall he was officer commanding at one point in the barracks I lived in. And I can still see him. And I met him halfway up the barracks square. He had an office at the top. And it was fun. Sometimes I'd go in with his fellow soldiers and officers, and there was fun going on. Those guys had it kind of good. And there was respect, and there was camaraderie, and it was all that kind of good stuff. You get a kind of army humour as well. But he was coming down, and I could still see him. And this isn't me getting maudlin, or I just loved what I saw. And so there's this big guy in his military cap and his greatcoat and his officer gloves. And he was walking towards me, and in his gloves, he had a little bird, a fledgling. And he said to me, "Oh, that's fallen out of its nest. I'll go and see if I can put it somewhere safe." So there was this juxtaposition of this strong man in command, with authority, and yet the gentleness of him taking pity on this little thing he'd come across on the barrack square. I'm not going to say anything funny now, in case you think that I'll make a smart remark. I won't. It was a sight I saw, and he just held it up in front of me and said, "Oh, look, I'll see if I can put this somewhere safe. This little thing must have fallen out of its nest. I don't know what happened to it." I'm going to go now because I'm talking rubbish, as they say in Ireland. But that's the beauty of us people. We're tuning in here every so often. I saw the figures going up actually on the analytics. It's been a very long day, so forgive me if I'm not in the best of form. I don't expect any comments tonight. Other than, I hope I'll be back tomorrow night in better form. And it's just been a crazy day, folks. Oh, look, my flames are back. I don't know how that happened. Hello, artificial flames. I'll talk to you guys. Bye.